It's the 10th of March 1995. Now, what year were you born?
1920.
And have you spent most of your life in Woolloomooloo?
I've lived in Woolloomooloo all my life.
Oh, really? Whereabouts in Woolloomooloo? Well,
I was born in Best Street.
at home?
At home, yes.
Yeah. And did you have any brothers and sisters?
One brother and one sister.
And where were you in the family?
I'm the second eldest. My sister was the youngest.
Oh, right, so you had an older brother.
Yeah.
What are your earliest memories of Woolloomooloo? Well, how, you know, when you go back when you were a child, how far can you go back?
Oh, when I first went to school, I think.
Yeah, where did you go to school?
St Mary's. Up
Ah.
where St Mary's Cathedral is, the school there. But today it's only for boys. It was girls and boys in those days.
And what was it like there?
Very good.
Yeah? Were you taught by nuns or brothers?
Nuns.
Oh, do you know what order they would have been?
Sisters of Charity.
Oh.
They lived in Victoria Street at the convent in Victoria Street, King's Cross. No, Potts Point.
Oh, yes. And how did they treat you?
Very good.
Yeah.
They were lovely, the nuns.
Were they tough?
Oh, the head one was pretty tough, but the rest were okay.
Yeah. So what sort of a kid were you?
Oh, pretty bright, I think.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, what sort of a place was Woolloomooloo for kids, say in the late 20s, early 30s? What was it like for a kid here then?
You have to go back, isn't it?
When you were a child. Were there a lot of kids around?
Oh, yes. Some of the families around that I can remember had big families. My mother only had 3. There was an Italian family had 17 children.
God.
And others I know had 8, 10 and 12. They were big families in those days, and everybody looked after one another, you know.
How come your family was so small? Just luck?
Yeah.
What sort of a house did you live in?
A 2-storey place. There it was gas. You had to put money in the gas meter for the lights.
Oh, yeah.
And then I forget, I'd be about 10, I think, when we got the electricity on.
Maybe about 1930.
Yeah, something like that. And we had a fuel stove in those days. And then we got the electric stove after we got the electricity on. And we had a battery wireless, and when we got the electricity on, we had a radio, which I thought was fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of a family do you come from? So what nationality were your parents?
My mother was Irish, my father was Australian.
And had they lived in Woolloomooloo all their lives as well?
No. My mother came out here through her grandmother's sister brought her out from Ireland. And I can remember telling me she come out in the White Star Line. That was a shipping company. She came out that she was 19, I think, and she met my father in Manly. He was cooking over there. Yes, and I guess she was a housemaid or something, and that's how she met him.
I wonder why they settled in Woolloomooloo. I don't know. Yeah. And where did your father work?
He worked as a chef out at the Sacred Heart Monastery in Kensington, where they trained priests to go to the islands. And him and the Irish fellow, the kitchen man, they lived out there. In the grounds they had a cottage, and him, my father and this man lived there. We used to only see Dad weekends, like Saturday afternoon, he'd go back Sunday afternoon.
Gee.
They trained the priests there. Anyhow, years after that, they had some of the lay brothers that looked after the gardens in the ground. He had to teach them how to cook, and in the end he got the sack. So he worked in the Carlton in the city, a big hotel, and he was there till he retired. He was over 70 when he retired.
Gee.
Yeah.
Was he a good cook? Must have been.
Oh, yes.
God. Was it hard not having him at home? You know,
I loved it because he was very, very strict.
Oh.
Very, very strict. Well, we could get around, Mum.
Yeah.
Stiff, you know.
Yeah. In every family there seems to be a tough one, a strict one, and then
Oh,
the
he
one you
was.
get around.
He was tough, especially on me being the eldest girl of the two.
Well, what can you tell me about your mother? What sort of a woman was she?
Oh, she worked hard. And she used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and walk through the domain to Dole Getty's, I think. She used to do office cleaning of a morning. 5 o'clock she walked through in the dark and the winter. I used to get frightened because, you know, walking through the park, that out of the mall. But in those days it wasn't like it is today. Today I wouldn't go up to the shop after dark here. No way. That door's locked and I'm in here.
Gee, that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, it's different today.
Yeah. Were your parents religious? Your father was working at the monastery, and
He was, and Mum was.
oh, your mum was religious. And did you like say the rosary and? Or
We
go
went
mass
to Mass.
on Sundays, or?
Yes. Oh, for years, but then as I got older, I never went after that.
But when you were a kid, you did.
Oh, yes, yes. Every Sunday we had to go up there. I was confirmed, you know, and all that the Catholics go through.
What was politics ever talked about in your home when you were growing up?
Especially me mother.
Yeah, really?
Yeah,
That's unusual.
yeah.
Who were they supporters of?
I think it was Jack Lang. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Can you remember? Yeah, I have. What can you?
She used to work for the candidate of this area for Labor in those days. And Jack Lang, he got the sack, if I remember. And that's going back a long, long time ago.
He was premier.
Yeah.
At home, like what sort of discipline was used? You said you could get around your mum, but say you did something that you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
What would happen?
Oh, she'd make you stay inside. You had to stay inside because she'd tell Dad. And he just belched as soon as look at you.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, he was different. He was hard.
What made him like that, do you think?
I don't know.
Had he been in the First World War? When you were growing up, can you remember seeing any veterans from the First World War wandering around?
First World War. I was born in 1920.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people that came back from that war, you know, with injured. You can't remember men. Okay. When you were growing up, I've talked to a lot of people, and especially boys. Boys were expected to have paper runs or to work in some way. When you got to be about, 10 or 12, were you expected to work to contribute to the family in any way?
No.
Huh? So you would have been 12 in the middle of the Depression.
That's right.
Yeah.
Back then.
Did your father stay and work in the Depression?
Part of it, he did.
How did the Depression affect your family?
Well, I can't ever remember staying. I always had a good meal. Mum would go down to the markets and get whatever she could.
Oh, yes.
She was a trooper, the Irish.
Yeah.
She'd come back with a sugar bag over her arm, walk all the way. She'd make sure we were fed. And I never had to eat what they say, fried bread and dripping. We always had a good meal. But there was people near us, that didn't have much because they had big families.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did your mum work all through the Depression?
Oh, most of the time she did. Yeah.
Okay. What did the family do for fun? Did you do anything as a family together? You know, did your family go out to picnics or anything?
Oh, we used to go to Botanical Gardens, or we'd go to Nielsen Park near Vaucluse we'd catch a tram or we'd go there before buses.
Yeah?
We'd go there for a picnic during the day, even if we just had sandwiches
Yeah?
for a swim. And we used to go down to the old Domain baths, but now they call it the Boy Charlton Pool, which the old baths was much better.
Why is that?
It was deep, it was the natural water coming in from the harbour in it,
Oh, really?
washing in and out.
Yeah.
But this has got, it's pumped in and it's there. You don't know how long they empty it out. It's different.
Yeah.
It was much deeper and longer.
Was it clean? Was the harbour clean in those days?
I think so in those days. I wouldn't say it's too good today.
No. Yeah, you said that you were well fed and everything. Well, what would be a typical meal?
Oh, Mum would say she'd have Irish stew or something like that, or roast steak, soup. I can't remember eating what other people tell me. They had bread. No.
Yeah, there were some absolute horror stories about how people survived.
And I
in the
know a
Depression.
lot of people down here did go hungry. I think, if I remember, they used to give them food coupons when I was a kid. Not money, food coupons.
And did your family get those?
I think my mother did get it. My father wouldn't get them. She'd go and get them. And then to buy meat. Well, meat was very cheap in those days. I think you paid, in those days, the money tuppence for a loaf of bread. It was better bread than what you get today, I reckon.
Yeah. In the evenings, when the family were home, what would you do? These days everybody watches TV.
We had a gramophone.
Yeah?
We had the radio, which we used to call the wireless in those days. And it was cold. We'd sit in the kitchen because we had a fuel stove. We used to haul the whole house up, you know. But after dark we weren't allowed to go out. But after school we'd play in our street, handball, hitting the ball up, or play what they call Vigoro in those days.
Was Vigoro mostly a girls' game?
Yes, it was.
You know how you talk about the fuel stove? Where would you get wood around here?
They had a wooden coal yard
Hmm.
up at the back of where the playground is now in Dowling Street.
Oh. And you just buy it or they deliver it or something?
No, we used to go up in a two-wheel barrow Dad made for us. We'd wheel it up and I'd get the wooden coal, 6 penny worth, wheel it home.
How long was your father working out at, where was it, Randwick?
Kensington, I
Kensington,
think it
sorry.
was.
How long, many years?
I think he was there for 10 years, something like that.
Oh, so you were about 10 when he stopped there. Did he like his work as a cook?
Loved it. Oh, we could cook too.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Did he cook at home as well?
Yeah, when he was home, you know, sometimes. But Mum used to do mainly the cooking.
Yeah. That would have been quite unusual those days for men to be into cooking, was it?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Did your mum like her work, working in the offices, cleaning them? No. She did it because it was necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you talked about your mum getting up and going up across the domain at 5 in the morning. What time would she get home?
Oh, about 10 o'clock that morning.
And you would have gone off to school.
Yeah.
And did you come home for lunch from school?
No, we used to have it at school. They had a tuck shop.
Oh, yeah. And what time, when you come home from school, you'd have your main meal in the evening. And when would your mum, would she do all the washing and all the housework after she got back from the offices?
Yeah, she never stopped.
Yeah. What time would she get to bed? It seems like she had a really long day.
As I got old, I used to help in the house, you know. Went to the elder school. My sister was the spoilt one. She hardly did a thing. And my brother was very quiet. I was the more outspoken.
Yeah.
With a bit more go in me than my brother and sister. I think I was a bit like my mother, because she had a lot of go in her. Mum did. She was very political.
I just wonder if she had the time for the politics.
Oh, I loved it.
What did she do in terms of helping the local Labor? She'd be supporting Labor, wouldn't she?
Oh, yeah, she never twisted. She worked on different election days and that.
Did you go to Labor Party meetings every month?
Me?
No, your mum.
Oh, I can't remember.
Just for me. Would you describe your mother as a happy person?
Yes, yeah.
And your dad?
No.
No?
Hard man, very hard.
How did the Depression have any impact on your family?
I think it did on Mum.
In what way?
Oh, because it put a lot of pressure on her to do extra work to get money, and she'd be worried about that we're well fed. She'd go down to markets on a Saturday morning and get whatever she could, practically for nothing. They'd carry it with a sugar bag over her shoulder, walk all the way to Paddy's markets and back. She'd take the little dog with her, although she did need follower, and walk all the way.
Did your father help that much? And who controlled the money in the house?
Oh, what my mother got, she controlled that, and then she had to wait to see what my father gave her.
Oh.
Different.
Yeah. Were there a lot of kids in the neighbourhood?
Oh, yes. They'd play in the side streets. This street they used to play in. We had a lot of quarter shops, you know, stores, which are all gone now. And we used to go up where the playground is. That was a vacant allotment when I was a kid. There was no playground there. We used to watch the men playing two up there.
Oh.
I used to go and have a look with a lot of kids to see. I thought, two up, what's that? And then down at where the finger wharf is today, there used to be a shipping line called the Orient Line, and they were an English firm, and a lot of passengers used to come out and they used to berth there. So when they were sailing, we used to go down, a lot of kids, and watch the people seeing passengers off. And they'd throw streamers over, so when they were finished, we'd roll them up and take them home, take them to school. We'd make decorations for the class and different things at school. And there was a night swimming down at the main bars, and I used to go down there swimming in the night, the hot nights we were allowed to go. Well, in those days you'd walk around without any, being afraid.
Yeah.
But not today. It's different.
Were there a lot of ships coming in? How did the being right on the wharf sort of affect the neighbourhood? I mean, would you have had a lot of
You had
transients?
you'd have a lot of the men that worked on the ships, the stewards and all that coming up.
The pubs must have been pretty wild places.
Oh yeah, for the men off the ships, the crew, yeah. Oh yes. Many times there was fights down there with locals or wharfies and the men off the ships.
And that's all gone. I mean, the wharfs are virtually dead down there.
That's right.
Wonder where they all go, all those ships.
Well, there's no ships coming here, only at Garden Island.
That's what I mean. Who were your friends?
I had some good friends. My best friend Now we're still in touch. She's over 70 and she's my son. She's godmother to my son. She lives at Terry Hills. She rings me twice a week.
What's her name?
Eileen McMonigal. That's a married name. I nearly said a maiden name.
What was her maiden name?
Beveridge.
Eileen Beveridge, yeah. Anything else?
We knew one another. We were about 12. We sort of grew up together. Although she didn't live there, she lived at Darlinghurst. And we used to go out a lot together. It was her that introduced me to my husband, when I married. Yeah.
And what other friends did you have in the neighbourhood?
Oh, different girls I went to school with that I've still been in touch with, but they're scattered in Queensland and different places up the North Coast. But it's only just recently 2 of them died. And we've always been in touch, the ones we were close, that were born down here, except Eileen. She was born in Darlinghurst. But when I started to go out when I got older, I never bothered much with people down here. I used to go up and meet Eileen, we go out.
Well, when you were a kid, what did you do with your friends? What sort of things would you do together?
We'd go swimming around the Botanical Gardens, or we'd go, what's that, Lady Macquarie's chair, go around there and fish on the rocks.
Were you welcome at the gardens? The gardeners didn't chase you away or anything?
Oh, no. We used to go and listen to the band in the gardens. They had used to have a band on there Saturday and Sunday. We used to go around. Or we'd go swimming. A lot of kids down here used to swim a lot. There's been 2 Olympic champions from Woolloomooloo. Etty Robertson, she lived here. I was only a little kid when she lived here. Bonny Mealing. They both won in Berlin when I used to have the Olympic Games in Germany in those days, and they both Olympic champions.
In 1936 that would have been, I think.
I think so. When they first began, I think it was 36, wasn't it? Well, or Bonny Mealing's still alive, but the other one died. Yeah.
So you went swimming, and but what else did you do for fun? You mentioned handball before.
At school, we used to have school dances up in the hall, up near the presbytery. That after school dances for the ones 11 and 12. And we go to that. And I used to sing in a choir at St Mary's on a Sunday with the nuns and the different ones from the different classes. But today I couldn't sing a note.
Did you like that though, singing in the choir?
Yes, I thought it was lovely every Sunday.
Yeah. Well, how far did you roam? How free were you to wander around the neighbourhood?
I was allowed to go around here as far as William Street, but when I was younger. But everybody knew everyone. And they all had big families except a few of us. Mum was one had a small family. But golly, some of them had 10 and 12 around here.
How did they survive?
I don't know. Kids used to say I had bread, fried bread and dripping. And I used to go in and say to my mother, I never had to eat that. Never.
Were there places that you weren't allowed to go when you were a kid?
Oh, well, there wasn't that many places to go to around. You had to find your own fun, you know.
I was just wondering if your mum said, you know how you could wander around, if your mum ever said to you, well, you're not allowed to go to somewhere or anything like that. No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We didn't go that far from home. Only weekend she let us go swimming out at Nielsen Park.
Did she go with you or did you catch a tram out there?
No, 4 or 5 of us would go.
Oh, yeah.
In a tram or walk. But we had to be home a certain time, of course. We'd just take a few sandwiches and that'd be it.
Were there people that you had to avoid?
Yes, there was a family, a couple of their oldest sons had been in jail. We were told to keep away from them.
And what had they been in jail for?
For housebreaking or something.
Gosh. What was
Not in this area, somewhere else.
Well, what was the crime rate like down here? Was it safe?
Well, I felt safer then than what I do now around here.
But was there many break and enters or muggings or anything like that?
Oh, I can't remember.
What about prostitution? There must have been some prostitution because of all the sailors and everything. You'd think that...
No, that was up Palmer Street at Darlinghurst, not down here.
Oh, right.
Darlinghurst.
Yeah.
Palmer Street, you might have heard of it.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that that's the area, the red light district at that time. When you were a kid, this is a funny question, but did you get any sex education? Like either from at school or from your parents? So how did you find out about it?
Well, funny, this coloured lady, poor old Carrie, I said, oh, I've got blood on my pant. Oh, I shouldn't be saying that.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
And she said, I'll take you around for a walk around Lady Macquarie's chair. And she told me all about it. I said, I'm frightened to tell my mother. She told me mother. And she even showed me what to do, you know.
Gosh.
And I was frightened to tell my mother. I was 14 when I first saw them. Today,
And you wouldn't have known what was going on?
No. At 14, that was late. You know, the kids today, they're much younger, aren't they?
Yes, yes. It's a wonder, it seems so funny that there is no preparation. I mean, I think that half the women, the older women, all thought that they were bleeding to death at 13, you know, because they just weren't told anything.
No, I told this neighbour, coloured lady, she was lovely.
Well,
She took me for a walk.
Yeah. Well, what was the ethnic mix around here? What?
There was Italians, there was Maltese, there was coloured people.
And when you say coloured people, are we talking about Aboriginal people?
No, there was no Aborigines here.
Oh, right.
No.
Well, where were these people from?
I don't know what
Were they African or Ireland?
Portuguese or something like that. And there was Norwegians on ships that jumped ship here and stayed ashore, married Australian girls from down here. They jumped ship. They worked on passenger ships. Instead of going back, they jumped ship. Well, in those days, I don't think they bothered to try and find them very much. They do today. And they're married and had a family.
How would you describe the neighbourhood? You know, was it residential or industrial or mixed? How would you talk about in the late 20s and 30s when you were a kid?
There's a few shops. Was mostly homes, I'd say.
No, you can't remember any industries or anything like that?
There was a gas company down here, right up until we formed the action group, and that was all taken. No, it was mainly homes and stores, corner stores and that.
Was it affluent? You know, or was it mostly a working area? Were people poor or did they have money in this area?
Oh, mostly poor, I would say. Be a few later, as I got older, that did buy homes, because you buy for a song in those days. There were thousands today. Some of them are still living in them.
But most people would have rented, did they?
My mother used to pay, what was it? 10 shillings, that's like $1 today for our house.
A week. Sounds all right. What was the social focus of the area? You know, was there a place where people would meet and talk informally? Like, for your mother, with your father away most of the time, was there anywhere, if she had any energy?
She used to go to the Labour meetings. It's gone now. Up in Fall Street, up the top of the hill on that side. I think there was a church there, they had a hall there, and that's where they used to have their Labor branch meetings, and my mother used to go up there.
Oh, right. Was there anywhere, I think that
Was there?
just a minute. Where else would people meet? Like just the people in the neighbourhood. If there was something, happening that was of concern to the community, or I don't know if somebody was ill, or was there a pub or a house, or did people go and talk in each other's houses?
Yes. People used to visit. If someone was sick in our street, it'd go all around. Different ones would come down to see if they could help the children, or cook a meal, or bring a meal. And they'd come down to see if was sick. Everybody sort of looked after one another, whether they were a big family or small family. If I was sick, it'd go around, I was sick, they'd come and see me mother, see if there's anything they could do. They were very good. The families stuck together down here.
And were people in the area, were they long-term resident, or was there a lot of turnover of the population?
Oh no, they were long-term residents in those days, yeah.
Well, where did most people work who lived down here?
A lot were waterside workers, a lot worked at the council, the local government. Some worked at the wool stores, which was down here. I'm trying to think. Waterside workers.
Can you remember much in the way of industrial accidents? I heard the wharves were really dangerous places to work. Did you know of anybody that was, anyone whose father was injured at work?
Yes. What's his name? Mr. McBurney got hurt, and his injuries, he was off work for about 6 months. He died just after that. I don't think his wife got much money out of it, very small if she did. And she had 10 children. I remember that. He was the only breadwinner. They were all very, very young.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
And there wasn't compensation or anything like that?
I think she got some of it. Not very much in those days they got.
Well, how would people get by if that happened?
Well, I think there was organisations. The Smith family was around then, I can remember. And different charity organisations used to be very good to the people that needed something. They'd bring food and that and come and see it.
What organisations? Can you remember?
I think it was Sydney City Mission, they're one of the old ones, and St Vincent de Paul and the Smith family.
Well, what were the main businesses in the area?
Grocery stores, greengrocers, bread shop, fish and chips shop.
Did most people shop locally?
Yeah. In those days you could tick up and you'd pay the end of the week or something like that. If you were short of money, I can remember that. Then the first police youth club opened in Woolloomooloo. They opened in 36 up here. It's still there. And that was a great asset because a lot of the children used to learn boxing and physical culture. They'd take them away camping, which was good in those days. That opened in 36.
They only took boys.
Yeah, but today it's girls and boys. There's only boys in those days.
Can you remember any other big events? From your childhood?
Down here? Oh, only when there was politics on. In those days they used to stand on a box on a corner.
Yeah.
And the local member would speak to the people.
And who was the local member? Do you know his name?
In my time, Albert Slosh was the state member, because he passed away a few years back. I think he was 25 years in state parliament. Then he got sick and he retired. He used to stand on the corner just up here in Cathedral Street on a box and speak to the people.
Would people heckle them? Was it a pretty entertaining sort of thing?
He was a local.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a local.
Can you remember any local characters?
Only the boy McBurney that was in jail, he was a villain.
Why was he a villain?
He was always thieving.
But they wouldn't thieve locally, would they?
No, there was I think it was a radio factory, not there. Some electrical place, he'd break in there.
Mm.
And the biggest one he did was Angus and Coots in the city.
Ooh.
And I think he went away for 8 years. So that was some of the tough stuff.
Hmm. Did you have any gangs down here? I keep hearing that the razor gangs were, well, some people, were they in Surrey Hills or here?
I can't remember them down here. You hear people say that, but I can't remember nothing like that. A lot went up at Surrey Hills and Darlinghurst. That's where the street women were.
Hmm. And can you remember any other local characters aside from McBurney? Yeah, just people who are a bit eccentric or well known or, you know.
The Sullivans.
Who are they?
They were Australian. They just live around the corner from me. My mother used to forbid me to play with any of the kids because their brothers were larrikins, you know. So you did have that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Did you go away on holidays ever?
Only with, from the school, we go away weekends. I didn't go away very often.
Where would the school take you?
They'd take us up to Liverpool to the orphanage up there, and we'd take some food with us, and we'd pick whatever we got that's lined up, and we'd have our lunch and share it with them.
Oh, with the kids in the orphanage?
Yeah.
Gosh. So it'd be a day trip or something like that?
Yeah.
But the family never went away, like to the mountains or the beach or something. What were the most popular newspapers at that time? What did your family read?
The Truth.
Wow.
And the Daily...
Do you mean the Workers' Daily? Or...
Daily paper, I think that was...
Oh, sorry.
That was by Jack Lang.
The Workers' Daily was Jack Lang, because that was, I think it was a Labor paper.
Yeah. And the other was The Truth. That was all a scandal. That was a Sunday's paper.
Yeah. And did you actually get the Workers' Daily? I didn't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah,
no.
yes.
I thought you...
I think it was a penny.
Yeah. What about comics? Can you remember any comics? Did you get comics?
Yeah, there was a little corner shop in Dowling Street. They'd sell you second-hand comics for a penny.
That was all right.
And you could exchange them.
Hmm.
They weren't new.
Hmm.
What was that?
Magazine that were popular.
Oh, God. I can't remember the name of them.
Okay. Did you have magazines in your house much at all, or were they too expensive then?
I can't remember the magazines.
Okay. Did you go to the movies?
Yes.
What, can you remember anything that you
At
used
King's Cross there was a day matinee. Oh, where the hotel is now, it used to be called the Crest. Now it's called the Capitol. Where that is today, there was a King's Cross Theatre. It was sixpence to go in.
Did you go very often?
Every Saturday.
Oh.
For the matinee.
Can you remember any of your favourite movies?
Oh, Tarzan and all those kind of movies.
Yeah. Can you remember any jokes? Riddles? Any of those sorts of things kids say? No. Was there ever, you went to the Catholic school, was there any rivalry or anything between the Catholic kids and the Protestant kids?
No, not that I can remember.
What were the big issues of the time in the 20s and 30s when you were growing up? Can you remember any sort of big issues that your family were concerned about?
Oh, big strikes on the waterfront for better pay and all that.
What can you remember about those?
Well, I used to have big meetings outside number 11 wharf down here, and us being kids used to go down and watch what they were up to. We used to watch them.
And what can you remember?
Oh, there'd be big fights. Wharfies be fighting seamen and all that kind of thing. Police would come down because the kids would all scatter because they were frightened then when it started to get a bit rough.
What was the attitude in the community to the police? I mean, did you think the police were your friends or were they viewed as the enemy?
I think they viewed them as enemies in those days.
Yeah. Can you remember any local police?
I don't think there was... Oh, yes, there was. Where the police youth club, that was a police station. Anyone arrested would be taken there, and then from there up to Darlinghurst police station. That was only small, like a holding place for them. And they had the big black vans used to come down and transport them up there. And then out to Long Bay.
What were the major changes that you saw?
Oh, and they'd taken the trams off, and then on the trams used to come right down here to Brown's Wharf. That's going down towards Garden Island. And then they'd taken them off, and the buses came on, which I thought the trams were better.
Why did you think that?
I don't know, they were in the middle of the road, not like the buses. And it was different.
Well, what impact did the car have? Were there many cars in the late 20s or 30s? Or?
Oh, there's a few of them had cars down here, not many people.
Were there still horse-drawn vehicles around then?
Yes. And there was a lot of Italians here that used to go fishing, and they'd sell it to people, or sometimes they'd give it to you for nothing. And it was weekends they used to sit in the side street and mend their fishing nets. And some of them that wasn't fixing their fishing nets, they'd play music. They used to play guitars and the accordion and sing. And they were lovely people, you know. The Maltese people were lovely down here too. Everyone seemed to be in with one another, you know. And the Italians especially were wonderful to people. Very kind, you know. But I think around about the 60s they all disappeared from here, the fishermen.
Was that when they started to put through that railway and break up the area?
Yeah, I think so. A lot moved.
Did they get involved in the fight to save Woolloomooloo?
We had a couple of Italian families that helped us. But after a while they left. They had big family. They went out Leichhardt Way, 5 Dock and that. They moved.
When you were a kid, what do you remember of the world? What did you know of the world outside your local area?
Oh, not much, I don't think. When I was a kid. Well, I don't remember the First World War.
No.
But I definitely remember the Second World War because I had friends from here that went to the Second World War, and I sent a few of them off with my brother when I went to the Middle East from Woolloomooloo Bay. I remember the name of the ship, the Aquitania, and I believe that was the largest ship in the First World War, and they took troops away from here in the Second World War because I was older, of course.
What can you remember of common illnesses?
Down here?
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, measles and whooping cough and all those kind of things the kids got. But I think we were immunised at school in those days.
Do you remember any deaths?
Any what?
Deaths.
Oh yes, there was gypsies lived down here in Dowling Street, the gypsy family. And one was called the Prince, and he died. And he had a mouthful of gold teeth, I remember that, and he used to always wear rings on his fingers. And in those days, the gypsy, if they died, they'd leave them in the house, and it was open house for people to come and have a look at it. And I was only a bit of a kid, and I walked in, and when I saw him, I ran for my life. And they paraded around Woolloomooloo when they were taking him out to bury him. There was a lot of gypsies here. I'd say about 24 of them. And after a few years, they disappeared. They used to go down and meet men that off the passenger ships, tell fortunes, rob them and all, you know, they were very crafty. And when the Prince died, it wasn't long after they sort of disappeared. I don't know where they came from in the first place.
Would that have been late 20s, do you think? You would have been, how old would you have been, do you think?
I'd be early 30s, I think.
Oh, right.
And I remember the bridge opening.
Oh, yes.
I wagged school to go to it.
Oh, I would have thought they would have given you a holiday.
And I got as far with my sister, a couple other girls at Wag School from Plunkett Street and St Mary's. We got as far as the art gallery. We couldn't get any further. It was packed. And we couldn't move, and I remember my sister started to scream, getting crushed. Some man put her on his shoulder. We were getting crushed. So we didn't get as far as the bridge. And that was a big day that day, the opening of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you never got a holiday for it.
No, we wagged school.
Did you get into trouble?
We used to go to the show, the Easter show. I wagged school to go to that, because my mother wouldn't give me any money to go, so we wagged school. And I found some money in a little purse in the crowd on the ground. So I didn't spend, I took it home and gave it to my mother. And then I didn't get belted.
But how did you get into the show without any money?
It was free for kids those days.
Oh,
Yeah, and you got a sample for nothing. Different today, it's dear.
oh yes.
We had a ball.
Can you remember the ferry Grey Cliff sinking off Bradley's Head?
The what?
There was a ferry called the Grey Cliff. It sank. A lot of people drowned. About 1927. No? You would have been just a child then. I mean, very young. Can you remember the opening of Leonard Park?
Yes.
Did you go?
No, I went, say, 12 months after, yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was lovely.
Is there anything... Were you happy as a child?
Yeah. I used to love to swim, play Vigoro, and I could run. And I used to sing a bit then in the choir, but I couldn't sing today. I was pretty lively, where my brother was very quiet. My sister was just absolutely sport, was a bit of a whinger.
Did I ask you what smells you could remember from the area? What smells do you associate with Woolloomooloo?
Oh, from the ships.
What does that mean?
Well, there'd be that many ships, you'd get all the smoke and that, but they had those, what are they called?
Funnels.
Yeah, because it's a bit different today. And Woolloomooloo Bay, with all the rain and that, we get the backwash from the harbour. They used to flood right up to Nicholson Street, just up from the Tilbury Hotel. Get floods down here. Yeah.
And what sounds can you remember?
Sounds.
Yeah. If you think back.
We could hear the lions roar at the zoo in those days. You don't hear them today. You could hear it in the middle of the night. You know, the sound they make. And I used to be awake and I'd say, that's the lion. You could hear them roar. Must come right across or something from the zoo. You don't hear anything like that today. And sometimes we get flocks of birds down here, and I believe they come from the zoo. We still get wild cockatoos come here, about 6 in the morning, flocks of them. Someone told me they're from the zoo, they just fly back.
Yeah.
Well, the zoo's across the harbour, as you know, from here.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
Oh. Okay, Nell, thank you very much. You've been a great help.
I hope it wasn't too boring.
No, not at all. Thanks.